everyone. Happy Wednesday. Right, it's a good day today. Just had a bit of a fluster of getting ready. Suddenly it was 3 o'clock and I hadn't eaten. And I don't know, is anyone else having days like that where it drags and then suddenly it's, I don't know, much later. Who knows? Who cares? You know, I'm just saying that the time is weird for me right now because I am in my own little bubble. Yeah, it's very strange. Right, I'm pleased to say that some magic happened to me today. I had a magical experience where I had ordered this new laptop yesterday and it arrived today. I don't know why. I don't know how. It's meant to be, you know, at the end of the month. And yet here it is. So that's good. And it means that I can do my future Storytime little show thing. I've created an event on this group and my next one is going to be tomorrow, 6 o'clock, with my scientist friend, Gregory. And yes, that is his name. Oh, hi, Davide. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that and I'll talk more about it later because I know what I'm like. I'll just chat on and on and on when what I should be doing is story time, reading you The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. Yes, if you haven't heard the other two chapters, then they are on this page, on this group. And now I have my magical laptop, I shall also be able to upload them onto my YouTube. So you shall be able to see them all in sequence, should you wish. Hello, Malwina. Right, so yes, we are on chapter 3. Lucy has gone into the wardrobe and she's met Mr. Tumnus. And she escaped some danger. And she has come back out of the wardrobe to the house where she and her siblings are staying. It's wartime and they've been evacuated to the country. Anyway, sorry, I'm speaking very quietly, which is not like me, and hopefully you can hear me. I shall speak up. I am an actor. I should be projecting. Right. I hope you're sitting comfortably. Chapter 3, Edmund and the Wardrobe. Lucy ran out of the empty room into the passage and found the other three. "It's all right," she repeated. "I've come back." "What on earth are you talking about, Lucy?" asked Susan. "Why," said Lucy in amazement, "haven't you all been wondering where I was?" "So you've been hiding, have you?" said Peter. "Poor old Lou, hiding and nobody noticed. You'll have to hide longer than that if you want people to start looking for you." "But I've been away for hours and hours," said Lucy. The others all stared at one another. "Batty," said Edmund, tapping his head. "Quite batty." "What do you mean, Lou?" asked Peter. "What I said," answered Lucy. "It was just after breakfast when I went into the wardrobe. And I've been away for hours and hours and had tea and all sorts of things have happened." "Don't be silly, Lucy," said Susan. "We've only just come out of that room a moment ago and you were there then." "She's not being silly at all," said Peter. "She's just making up a story for fun, aren't you, Lou? And why shouldn't she?" "No, Peter, I'm not," she said. It's a magic wardrobe. There's a wood inside it, and it's snowing, and there's a faun and a witch, and it's called Narnia. Come and see." The others did not know what to think, but Lucy was so excited that they all went back with her into the room. She rushed ahead of them, flung open the door of the wardrobe, and cried, "Now, go in and see for yourselves." "Why, you goose," said Susan, putting her head inside and pulling the fur coats apart. "It's just an ordinary wardrobe. Look, there's the back of it." Then everyone looked in and pulled the coats apart, and they all saw, Lucy herself saw, a perfectly ordinary wardrobe, with hooks on it. Peter went in and rapped his knuckles on it to make sure that it was solid. "A jolly good hoax, Lou," he said as he came out again. "You have really taken us in, I must admit. We half believed you." "But it wasn't a hoax at all," said Lucy. "Really and truly, it was all different a moment ago. Honestly, it was, I promise." "Come, Lou," said Peter. "That's going a bit far. You've had your joke. Hadn't you better drop it now?" Lucy grew very red in the face and tried to say something, though she hardly knew what she was trying to say, and burst into tears. For the next few days she was very miserable. She could have made it up with the others quite easily at any moment if she could have brought herself to say that the whole thing was only a story made up for fun. But Lucy was a very truthful girl, and she knew that she was really in the right, and she could not bring herself to say this. The others, who thought she was telling a lie, and a silly lie too, made her very unhappy. The two elder ones did this without meaning to do it, but Edmund could be spiteful, and on this occasion he was spiteful. He sneered and jeered at Lucy, and kept on asking her if she'd found any other new countries in other cupboards all over the house. What made it worse was that these days ought to have been delightful. The weather was fine, and they were out of doors from morning to night, bathing, fishing, climbing trees, and lying in the heather. But Lucy could not properly enjoy any of it, and so things went on until the next wet day. That day, when it came to the afternoon and there was still no sign of a break in the weather, they decided to play hide and seek. Susan was it, and as soon as the others scattered to hide, Lucy went to the room where the wardrobe was. She did not mean to hide in the wardrobe, because she knew that would only set the others talking again about the whole wretched business. But she did want to have one more look inside it, for by this time she was beginning to wonder herself whether Narnia and the Faun had not been a dream. The house was so large and complicated and full of hiding places that she thought she would have time to have one look into the wardrobe and then hide somewhere else. But as soon as she reached it, she heard steps in the passage outside, and then there was nothing for it but to jump into the wardrobe and hold the door closed behind her. She did not shut it properly, because she knew that it is very silly to shut oneself into a wardrobe, even if it is not a magic one. Now, the steps she had heard were those of Edmund, and he came into the room just in time to see Lucy vanishing into the wardrobe. He at once decided to get into it himself, not because he thought it a particularly good place to hide, but because he wanted to go on teasing her about her imaginary country. He opened the door. There were the coats hanging up as usual, and a smell of mothballs, and darkness and silence, and no sign of Lucy. "She thinks I'm Susan come to catch her," said Edmund to himself, "and so she's keeping very quiet in at the back." He jumped in and shut the door, forgetting what a very foolish thing this is to do. Then he began feeling about for Lucy in the dark. He had expected to find her in a few seconds, and was very surprised when he did not. He decided to open the door again and let in some light, but he could not find the door either. He didn't like this at all, and began groping wildly in every direction. He even shouted out, "Lucy! Lou, where are you? I know you're here." There was no answer, and Edmund noticed that his own voice had a curious sound. Not the sound you expect in a cupboard, but a kind of open-air sound. He also noticed that he was unexpectedly cold, and then he saw a light. "Thank goodness," said Edmund. "The door must have swung open of its own accord." He forgot all about Lucy and went towards the light, which he thought was the open door of the wardrobe. But instead of finding himself stepping out into the spare room, he found himself stepping out from the shadow of some thick, dark fir trees into an open place in the middle of a wood. There was crisp, dry snow under his feet, and more snow lying on the branches of the trees. Overhead there was pale blue sky, the sort of sky one sees on a fine winter day in the morning. Straight ahead of him he saw between the tree trunks the sun, just rising, very red and clear. Everything was perfectly still, as if he were the only living creature in that country. There was not even a robin or a squirrel among the trees, and the wood stretched as far as he could see in every direction. He shivered. He now remembered that he had been looking for Lucy, and also how unpleasant he had been to her about her imaginary country, which now turned out not to have been imaginary at all. He thought that she must be somewhere quite close, and so he shouted, "Lucy! Lucy! I'm here too, Edmund!" There was no answer. "She's angry about all the things I've been saying lately," thought Edmund. And though he did not like to admit that he had been wrong, he also did not much like being alone in this strange, cold, quiet place. So he shouted again, "I say, Lou! I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I see now you were right all along. Do come out. Make it Pax." Still there was no answer. "Just like a girl," said Edmund to himself, "sulking somewhere and won't accept an apology." He looked round him again and decided he did not much like this place, and had almost made up his mind to go home when he heard, very far off in the wood, the sound of bells. He listened, and the sound came nearer and nearer, and at the last there swept into sight a sledge drawn by 2 reindeer. The reindeer were about the size of Shetland ponies, and their hair was so white that even the snow hardly looked white compared with them. Their branching horns were gilded and shone like something on fire when the sunrise caught them. Their harness was of scarlet leather and covered with bells. On the sledge, driving the reindeer, sat a fat dwarf who would have been about 3 feet high if he had been standing. He was dressed in polar bear's fur, and on his head he wore a red hood with a long gold tassel hanging down from its point. His huge beard covered his knees and served him instead of a rug. But behind him, on a much higher seat in the middle of the sledge, sat a very different person. A great lady, taller than any woman that Edmund had ever seen. She also was covered in white fur up to her throat, and held a long, straight, golden wand in her right hand, and wore a golden crown on her head. Her face was white, not merely pale, but white like snow or paper or icing sugar, except for her very red mouth. It was a beautiful face in other respects, but proud and cold and stern. The sledge was a fine sight as it came sweeping towards Edmund with the bells jingling and the dwarf cracking his whip and the snow flying up on each side of it. "Stop," said the lady, and the dwarf pulled the reindeer up so sharp that they almost sat down. Then they recovered themselves and stood, champing their bits and blowing. In the frosty air, the breath coming out of their nostrils looked like smoke. "And what, pray, are you?" said the lady, looking hard at Edmund. My name's Edmund," said Edmund, rather awkwardly. He did not like the way she looked at him. The lady frowned. Is that how you address a queen?" she asked, looking sterner than ever. "I beg your pardon, your majesty. I didn't know," said Edmund. "Not know the Queen of Narnia?" cried she. "Ha! You shall know us better hereafter. But I repeat, what are you?" "Please, your majesty," said Edmund. "I don't know what you mean. I'm at school, at least I was. It's the holidays now." End of chapter 3. And here is the only picture of the chapter. There's Edmund in the forest, and there's the White Queen coming up towards him. Ooh, gives me shivers. I just think of Tilda Swinton. Oh, love her. Hi Alex, hi Mark. My phone beeped in the middle of that. Naughty phone. Forgot to put it on silent, didn't I? Anyway, thank you so much for listening. That was fun. I didn't realise that the White Queen would... White Witch? White Witch? White Queen? Queen Witch? Witchy Queen. Didn't realise that she came in so quickly. So that's good. Got a bit of drama. Yes, I shall be uploading... Well, the other chapters are already on this group anyway. But I'll be putting it all on my YouTube channel as well. So much fun. Right, so what do I want to say to you all while you're here? Oh, where's my book? Oh, okay, well I finished that novel. Wait, you probably won't wait if I leave. Ted, talk to them for a moment. What about? Oh, I don't know anything. Well, I don't know why you didn't let me read some of that. Well, I was just in a flow, Ted. I'm sorry. I'll let you read. I'll let you read one of the characters next time. Is that all right? Will you read some tomorrow? Yes, I'd quite like to read some tomorrow. Yeah, well, that's fine. You can do that. Sorry, I didn't give you much chance today. Oh, it's all right. I'm used to just sitting around. Yeah, well, you are a teddy bear. It's not my fault. No, sorry. Just all this isolation malarkey. Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. Anyway, what I was going to say. Oh, you stayed. You stayed to hear the ramblings of a crazy lady. Yes, if you would like a good book, adult book, this is great. It's a real story, but it's full of adventure, and I finished it today. It's about uncontacted tribes in the Amazon. Guy goes and meets them. It's really, really cool. So, highly recommend. I've had my friend recommend me a novel, my next book to read, so I'm all sorted for that. Now, I mentioned before I started reading the chapter that I've had some magic happen to me. I've had some great fortune. I ordered my laptop yesterday, parted with all of my money, and lo and behold, it arrived today. My eyes I couldn't believe my eyes. And my point is, I can now stream. So I can do these interviews and I can do future story time with the people that I want to interview. So we're doing one tomorrow at 6 o'clock. It is at 6 because I want to watch the play at the National afterwards at 7 and have an early night. So we're doing it at 6 o'clock. It will be an hour or less. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please do check out the event. But Future Storytime is an evolution of Storytime where I want to talk about our stories that we're telling ourselves. I want us to get a bit more empowered during lockdown. I feel like we're all waiting for the news, we're all waiting to be told what to do, and it's all fine and understandable, but I think there's just something in me that wants to remind us that we are creative beings and we do also create our reality, and that's what we'll be discussing. That'll be one of the things. How much am I creating and how much is being created for me? Interesting stuff. And I don't profess to be any kind of expert on the law of attraction. It's just something that I have been living with as a guiding tool for about 10 years. And I wanted to bring it into a public discussion, and maybe for people that are curious, they can listen into this conversation, or if you think you know it all, that's also great, and you can either way write comments and questions and we'll answer them as we go. And I'm going to be interviewing this time my friend Greg, who is watching now. Greg is a scientist, he's got a PhD, he's all into his quantum physics and whatnot, stuff that I don't know anything about but I'm very interested in. We will be looking at the marriage between science and spirituality, thus perhaps proving that the law of attraction is real and worth a go and worth a look at. Yes, and just, you know, basically we are in the chrysalis right now. That's how I see it. Might not be nice all the time, but we are in a chrysalis and it is time for introspection. And we may not be able to take a lot of inspired action, but we are able to get clear in our minds what we want to manifest. And I think that's really cool. And I just want to talk about it. And it helps me get clear about what I want to manifest too. So it's, yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow. I've already done an episode with my friend Tommy, who's this, he was doing fashion and now he's into, he's taken this big job in Dubai doing real estate stuff. And so it was cool talking to him about, you know, how he's made the law of, oh, this wig. How he's made the law of attraction work. Anyway, so it will be a very different conversation, I should think, tomorrow. But nothing is pre-planned. I've got some basic questions and we're just going to flow and see what Greg has to say. So hopefully we will see you there if it's something that you're even remotely curious in. Or, you know, maybe you just want to stick on something a bit different to Netflix. It would be great to see you there. I know Greg's really excited. As usual, I shall be back also tomorrow, just me and, yes, and me, and Ted, and of course Mr. Robin and Yusuf the Unicorn. We'll all be here at 4 p.m. doing The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. We'll be continuing on to chapter 4. Yes, Greg, see you tomorrow. Exciting. Yes, it's funny, isn't it? It's like there's something about lockdown that has, I don't know, stop me asking permission. Just doing things that I find interesting and then, oh my God, you can see my horrible brown hair. Oh dear, I'm not really on it today. Yeah, it's cool and I encourage you guys to do the same. If there's like a topic that you want to share, this group is great. There's going to be such an interesting cross section of people on this group now. There's an audience for everything, I should think, if there's anything that you want to talk about. Yeah, so good times. I hope you're all good. Oh man, I hope you're all okay and just having a nice day. I mean, what more can I say? It's just mental, isn't it? It's like, I'm an actor and a voice artist, right, by trade. And so today is a bit of a crazy day because the applications for the support scheme have opened up and I'm aware that not everyone gets it. But for those that have, there's all this like big flurry for that. But also the industries are now opening up. You know, we've got, people are now allowed to film. Hey Lee. Now Netflix and soaps and all these production companies are opening up with social distancing. How's that going to work then? I called my mum and I was like, yeah, so you can go and work on a film set now. How are you going to get your makeup done with social distancing? I just think like you're going to just have a load of actors looking awful because trust me, makeup people work magic. Makeup and hair. Anyway, I don't know. I'd be interested though to see what their plans are to open up our industry again and actually keep it safe. I mean, I thought about all the gaffers and everyone as well that does like the lighting. Like, oh, this wig. There we go. How are you gonna be like touching pieces of equipment, altering lights, you know, doing all that stuff, moving away, and then someone else has to go and adjust something and everyone's touching stuff. How are you? I don't understand it. I know this is not about story time. I have now decided to go into a stream of consciousness about my industry because it's on my mind, guys. Yeah, I just find that really odd. I think the voiceover stuff is much easier actually to do social distancing because like when I do audiobooks, I'm literally sat in a box on my own for 6 hours a day, you know, and there's people on the other side of the glass directing and doing their stuff. But in terms of like the space, it's just you. So that might be quite easy. Who knows? I wonder what your industries are doing at the moment and if you feel safe to go back to work. I think there's all these different levels of, is it safe for everyone? Never mind if I feel safe going back to work. Like, can they actually make it safe for everyone? For those people that maybe are a bit more a bit older, a bit more at risk. I mean, it just throws up more questions for me than confidence. Like on a personal level, I would go back in the studio. I would go to work because it's not that I feel completely bulletproof, but I'm not, I don't feel vulnerable. But obviously that's not everyone, is it? And then the people that feel like they've got to pay the bills. Yeah. I think people that really can work from home and maybe did already are the lucky ones, aren't they, in this situation? Yeah, I don't know. My heart just goes out to everyone that's with all the uncertainty. That's all. Yeah, it's a crazy old time. But of course, we can unionise and we can make demands and we can make sure that things are safe. I don't know how you make sure things are safe. Yeah, how do you do that? What are their plans to make everything safe? If you're working in a building, is it not any different to being in Tesco? Therefore, shouldn't everyone be wearing masks? I don't know. We don't know, do we? How do we cope in the not knowing? Distraction. Yeah, I'm definitely really, really confused. And it's really hard. I just don't understand how you can go on a TV set. Because I've been on them. How you can go on a TV set and say it's going to definitely be safe and people aren't going to get near each other. I mean, what? They're going to have to do scenes with much less people. They'll have to have scenes of like, you know, just duologue after duologue, assign a makeup artist to each one, skeleton crew. Like, I don't know. TV's going to be a bit more basic, I think. It's going to get a little bit more basic. But, you know, what's cool is that things are evolving and people are making their own TV, aren't they? From home. In lockdown situations, they're providing sort of more homegrown entertainment. Secret Cinema are doing their thing from lockdown. I mean, it can be done. Hi, Richard. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you fall into the camp of having watched loads of Netflix during lockdown. I've never been quite that way inclined. I do watch stuff, but I don't get through series after series, and so yeah, I've really liked seeing the alternatives that have popped up, especially in this group, like the other things that you can do, like more interactive things. Like Iona did her gardening show. And there's been so many different things going on in this group. Yeah. Oh, right, I'm gonna go. Because this is just me wondering about stuff, and we'll wait and see, won't we? But yeah, I hope that you are all well, and I hope that you're all okay. I say the same thing every time, but it's because I mean it. It's my little ending. I'm laughing because I don't know, why am I laughing? Doesn't matter, does it? I think it's because I want to stay and talk and I have nothing to say, and it's quite funny how desperate I am to just communicate. Yeah, I hope you're all well, and if you're not well right now, I hope that you're okay, and I hope you get better soon. All right, lots of love, guys. See you tomorrow.